The imperfecto, the past tense, which communicates an ongoing or a repeated action in the past. In this lesson, we're going to look at different phrases where the imperfecto is going to be used in the past tense. For example, clima or weather, age, edad, time, hora. These are three specific situations in which you're going to use only the imperfecto if you're communicating these actions in the past. For example, let's look at them first in the present tense. If you ask, ¿Qué tiempo hace?, you're asking, what's the weather doing? And you would answer, hace calor or hace frío. It's doing hot or it's doing cold. ¿Cuántos años tienes? How many years do you have? How old are you? Tengo 10 años. I'm 10 years old. ¿Qué hora es? What time is it? ¿Es la una or son las dos? This is how you would ask these questions in the present tense. Now let's switch over to the past tense. You have to use the imperfecto when you're discussing the weather, your age, or the time. For example, instead of ¿Qué tiempo hace?, ¿Qué tiempo hacía? What was the weather doing? If you're going to respond to that question while discussing the past, you would say ¿Hacía calor or hacía frío? You're going to use the imperfecto ending. ¿Qué tiempo hacía? Hacía calor, hacía frío. That's for the weather. Let's look at age, edad. If you were to ask, how old were you? You would ask, ¿Cuántos años tenías? How old were you at the time of the event that you were discussing? And, I was 10 years old would be, tenía 10 años. And for time as well, instead of asking ¿Qué hora es?, if you would ask, what time was it? You would ask, ¿Qué hora era? What time was it? And you would answer, Era la una, it was 1 o'clock, or eran las dos, it was 2 o'clock. So in these three specific situations, you have to use the imperfecto past for clima, edad, and hora. Weather, age, and time. Let's look at a couple other phrases where we might use this. Antes, if we're describing time that's not specific, you're going to use the imperfecto past tense. If you were just to say, before, or en el pasado, in the past, cuando era niño, when I was a boy, or cuando era niña, when I was a girl, cuando era chico or chica, when I was little, cuando era joven, when I was young. If you're using phrases like this discussing the past tense, these are moments in time where you cannot put a date or a time to. Antes, you can't say that was, February 4th, 1986. Or in the past, February 5th, 1996. There's no date on this. So because it's general and it's not specific, you're going to use the imperfecto past tense. Before, en el pasado, cuando era niño, cuando era chico, cuando era joven. These phrases are going to give you a clue as you'll probably use the imperfecto in these situations. Let's look at some examples in a sentence. Before, I spoke Spanish. That wasn't last night at the party. That wasn't last week. Those two are very specific. You know that last week was last week, or last night was, Thursday night at 5 o'clock. These are general times in the past, so you're usually going to use imperfecto. Before, I spoke Spanish. Antes, yo hablaba español. In the past, we ate a lot. En el pasado, comíamos mucho. When I was a boy, she lived in Michigan. Cuando yo era niño, ella vivía en Michigan. Notice there's no specific time on here. When I was a boy, in the past, and before. And notice the aba and ia endings for the imperfecto. A couple other examples as we finish out the lesson. When I was little, I liked to study. Cuando era chica, me gustaba estudiar. When you were young, you liked books. Cuando eras niña, te gustaban libros. Notice these are imperfecto endings, the aba, ia endings, and they're discussing non-specific times in the past or repeated or ongoing actions in the past. And to finish, these are phrases that are going to give you a clue that you might be using the imperfecto before, in the past, when I was a boy, when I was little, when I was young. And these are three situations in which you will always use the imperfecto. Weather, age, and time. ¿Qué tiempo hacía? ¿Cuántos años tenías? ¿Qué hora era? And that's our lesson for the day. imperfecto, past tense, ongoing action, and in this case, specific times when you would use the imperfecto in the past tense.